We're gonna skip the hat for this round, and we're gonna get Katie Giacovelli up here.
All right, so I'm going to tell a story that some of you might know, but it's so great I have to tell it again. This isn't actually anything that's happened to me, but it is a true story, so just bear with me. I went to school in Long Island for 2 years, and my roommate, she was from Manhattan, so we spent a lot of time in Manhattan on the weekends. And so one day she gives me a phone call and she says, "Katie, I have to tell you this story. It's great and you're not going to believe this." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So she has a friend who her boss had approached her and said, "Listen, I'm going to be gone for about a month. I need someone to dog sit. And I know you've done it in the past, but I realize, it'd been like a weekend, but this is going to be a whole month. Are you cool with it?" And she's like, "Yeah, no problem, Now, this woman's dog was a medium-sized dog, so you figure 45 to 50 pounds. So she says, "Yeah, no problem, just let me know what you need me to do, any special instructions or whatever." She goes, "Okay, so I just feed the dog at this time, take him to the dog park at that time, and we'll be cool. If you have any questions, call me." It's fine. So her boss goes on vacation, and she's feeding the dog when she's supposed to. She's taking him to the dog park. The first week, the dog dies. She's like, "Oh my freaking God, like seriously?" So she calls her boss and she's like, "Listen, I'm really sorry, but your dog passed away." She goes, "I feel awful, She goes, "Don't worry about it. The dog was a little bit older, and we knew this was coming for a while now, so it's not a big deal, but can you do me a huge favor?" She's like, "Yeah, sure, anything. I feel really bad." She goes, "Well, I would like to have the dog cremated." She's like, "Sure, no problem." She's like, "Don't worry about anything. I'll have everything taken care of by the time you get home." She said, "Thanks." And she goes, "I'm so sorry. Don't worry about it." So she hangs up the phone and she starts thinking, okay, now she lives in Manhattan. She doesn't have a car, and she takes the subway. She's like, how the hell am I going to get this dog to get cremated? So she makes an appointment the next day, and she's like, "I have no freaking idea what I'm going to do." So she comes up with this idea. "You know what? I'm going to put the dog in an old suitcase." So she gets one of those old-fashioned suitcases, which, you can't really squish into anything. So she puts the dog in the suitcase, and she heads down to the subway. So she's got this 45, 50-pound dog in a suitcase, walking down the street. She gets into the subway, and she's waiting for a train, and the train comes up, and she goes up to the platform, and she's trying to get the suitcase into the subway car. So she's having a hard time, because she's a smaller frame. She's probably like 5'3", maybe like 110 pounds, and she's got this 50-pound dog in a suitcase. So this gentleman comes over and says, "Oh man, let me help you with that." And she's like, "Oh, thanks." The whole time she's like, "Oh Jesus, I got a freaking dog in a suitcase." So the gentleman helps her, gets the dog in the suitcase, but goes, "Oh my God, ma'am, what is in this suitcase?" And she says, "Oh, it's just stuff for work, some electronics, whatever." And he's like, "Oh my God, it's so heavy." She goes, "Yeah, I know." So she sits down, and all of a sudden this gentleman wants to have a conversation. She's like, "Oh, of course." She's like, "Must be, somebody that's come visiting, because who the hell wants to talk to anybody on the subway?" So this guy's talking, "Oh, where do you work? Oh, what do you do?" And she's like, "Oh yeah," she's kind of humoring him, but she's thinking, "Oh my God, I have this freaking dead dog in a suitcase. I just want to get it cremated and be done with it." So she's like, check in, stop. She's like, "Oh, I got 2 stops yet. This is awesome." And the guy's still talking to her and talking to her and talking to her. So then finally, she's like, "Oh great, my stop's coming up. I could just get out of the subway and get this freaking dog cremated." So the bell rings as she gets up for a stop, the door opens, and the gentleman stands up, punches her in the face, takes the suitcase, and runs out of the subway. So now she's knocked out cold, like bam, down, out. So she wakes up, and she's got the EMTs all over the place, and she's like, "What the hell just happened?" They're like, "Ma'am, you just got jumped in the subway." And she's like, "Where's the suitcase?" He's like, "You grabbed the suitcase." And now she's like, "Jesus, this freaking man has a dead dog in a suitcase." So she calls her friend, and she's like, listen, I am so sorry. I went to go take your dog and I put it in a suitcase because I can't, throw a dog on the side of the street and, I needed something to put it in, and so I put it in a suitcase and I got jumped out of the subway and her boss was like, listen, don't worry about it. And that's my story.
Oh, to be there when that suitcase was opened up.